Welcome to The Rest of the Moose,
Where's the rest of this moose?
a podcast about anything and everything.
You must have hated this moose.
Here's your host, Chris Grum.
Well, there's nothing like an impending tropical storm or possibly hurricane to finally get me to do something that I've been thinking of doing for quite a while, and that is create my own personal podcast. Now, those of you that know me know we already have a podcast with my company, Premier Custom Travel, called The Itinerary. I invite you and encourage you to download that one and also sign up for updates. But I also have been meaning for a long time to create my own personal podcast where I can talk about anything and everything that I want to. It's kind of an extension, if you will, of my blog, The Rest of the Moose, where I've done chronicling my weight loss journey to movie and theater reviews and then pretty much anything else that comes to mind. And so this is what this podcast is going to be. It could be anything as far as the topic goes. And when signing up for the podcast service, they ask you for a category, and I really honestly didn't know what to put. So it's personal journal, which I guess is the closest thing to what this is going to be. Now, this episode is more of a, I have to upload something, so this is an explanatory episode of what you can expect from The Rest of the Moose. But let's talk a second about where the title came from, if you haven't figured it out from the show's graphic. I'm a big fan of the movie Arthur. I think it's probably the perfect comedy. And I'm talking about the 1980-81 film, not the remake with Russell Brand. The film with Dudley Moore, Liza Minnelli, John Gielgud, and the rest of the group is, to me, comedy gold. It is a brilliant film. There's not a wasted frame in the whole movie. Everything contributes to the story. Everybody is either hilarious or unintentionally hilarious. It is just a wonderful film. And so when I was trying to come up with a name for my blog, The Rest of the Moose just popped out to me, because if you don't know the scene, Arthur, who's perpetually drunk, walks into the house of his fiance, or her father's house, I should say. And there's this giant moose hanging over the fireplace. And he's drunk. And so, of course, when we're drunk, we do silly things. He looks up at it and he's just kind of wondering through this entire conversation what's going on with this moose. And he asks at one point, where's the rest of this moose? As if you actually keep it, on the other side of the wall or something. And it's just comedy gold. The whole scene with the moose and with Bert Johnson, his fiance's dad, is just, to me, comedy gold. So it was a perfect name for my podcast. And so, and it's memorable too, I think. So The Rest of the Moose could be anything, because we really don't know where the rest of that moose is. Some of you that have been moose hunting may have eaten the rest of the moose. Some of you may have put it on the other wall. Who knows? But that's what this podcast is going to be about. I'll do theater reviews here. I'll do movie reviews, TV reviews. I'll talk about things that irritate me from time to time. I'll talk about things that make me laugh. Like I said, it could be anything. I'm thinking for the opening episode, since we are in the middle of a storm headed this way, that I may talk about my experiences in the radio days broadcasting during tropical storms and hurricanes, because there are some good stories that came out of that, let me tell you. But this is The Rest of the Moose. I hope you'll subscribe and join me on this journey. From time to time, I hope to have some guests on. And again, who knows who they're going to be? They could be people that I met during my radio days. They could be friends and family. It could be anybody. And that's kind of the fun of this, is I don't think you're going to know what happens next. And if you know me, you never know what I'm going to say next. And so it's one of those things where we might get a little saucy from time to time. There might be a few off-color comments and jokes, but hopefully we'll keep it relatively family-friendly and hopefully entertaining. So this is going to be The Rest of the Moose, and I hope you'll come along for the journey.
You've been listening to The Rest of the Moose podcast, hosted by Chris Grum.
Why don't you forget the moose for a moment?
Previous episodes are available online at chrisgrum.com. See you next time for The Rest of the Moose.